Welcome back to 8 Cubes. I am joined for the first time in a few weeks by Lambie Series. I am, of course, KMBest, and we are going to start with a special post-OTA episode of 8 Cubes. This was an absolutely bonkers OTA, one of the wildest they've done in a while, and they did something that I've been asking them to do for God knows how long, and that is nerf Lockjaw. That's where we're going to start. Obviously, Lockjaw, key component of the Thanos deck, pretty important in the Hela deck as well. And Lockjaw now a 4/5 as opposed to a 3/2. That cuts off about 33% of its potential, effectively making it a card that is only really cycling on turn 5 and turn 6, unless you ramp into it, Zabu, Time Stone. We'll see how that kind of stuff ends up working out. Lambie, you have a relatively negative opinion of Lockjaw in Thanos right now, I should say.
Yeah, also, what's up, guys? It's been a while. I'm glad to be back. But let's just talk a little bit about Lockjaw and okay, so I tested this card. I knew it was obviously a nerf. Everyone knew it was obviously a nerf, but I didn't realize how bad the nerf actually hit the card in specific decks that it was previously good in. So Lockjaw's now a 4/5. The effect stays the same. The problem with Lockjaw right now is that where it used to be great, it is now very awkward. In Thanos specifically, because what we used to do in Thanos Lockjaw is, of course, you play it on turn 3, you cycle stones, time stone, whatever stone, get big stuff out, and then you play more big stuff by itself. You just play actual physical big stuff. But the problem is now Lockjaw is a 4 cost, which makes it really, really weird. You want to play Visions on 5, Devil Dinos on turn 5 in Thanos, but then now you realize you play the Lockjaw on 4, and that's just skipping a turn of usage for the Lockjaw. And on turn 6 you want to play a blob, and then that's maybe skipping a turn of usage for the Lockjaw again. So it's not complementary to the Thanos deck. Now it's you choose either or. And in a deck that's slightly more inconsistent than most decks, aka 18 cards, having to choose either or, it's not fantastic. I mean, of course, it's still very early on right now, and there might be a chance for Lockjaw to still shine in other builds. But I think in Thanos specifically, it's very awkward. I do think that the card is still an okay card, but we haven't really seen any form of resurgence or upcoming of any new potentially great Lockjaw decks yet. One more thing I want to talk about is also Hela Lockjaw. That curve is also relatively awkward right now. You really want to cycle early. That one extra energy cost will really hurt your cycling potential with Lockjaw in Hela as well. So I'm very interested to see where this goes. Currently, I'm a bit not happy. Okay, not say not happy, but I can safely say that Lockjaw right now is not where it used to be. I mean, people have been telling me that you can now play the perfect curve of Thor, Lockjaw, Jane, but I mean, it's still an increase in cost, so obviously it's worse.
Yeah, I am of the opinion that this current iteration of Lockjaw is a significant downgrade. Whether or not it ends up being playable still is, I think, the actual question here, right? Lockjaw's been nerfed before, and we pretty much were just oh, we'll just play the same decks. And I think this is a situation where it might not be as simple to just keep playing Lockjaw in the same decks. Or if it is
Agreed.
that simple, it'll be a little bit like what a Nihilist Bounce was after the Werewolf nerfs and all of that. It'll be oh, every time I play it, it just reminds me of what we used to have. Loki's back. Everyone's mad. Lord knows I am. I stopped into another streamer's chat, and they were just already metagaming against Loki. It was it has been 6 to 12 hours since the patch, and it was already it was we can't run Shang in our deck because Loki will get the Shang and will die. And that is so sad that we're back here. I am actually devastated that we're back here. I hated that dynamic. I still don't like that dynamic. Loki is fine when it's not making people do specifically that. And I think if this ends up being what the meta actually turns into, it's going to be a big eye roll of a patch. I'm not going to lie. If what they have done here is swap out Thanos for Loki, what they will have done is make the metagame worse, more annoying, less fun to play. I really hope that's not what's happening.
So the funny thing is, I am of the exact opposite Cambia, because I'm quite glad that Loki is back.
Okay, so blame him. Everyone in the comments, everyone in the comments is oh, KM, you just love Loki so much. No, He does.
Yeah, I mean, there was a period where I actually did say on 8 cubes that like there was too much, but then we had like a 1.5 month break from Loki, and then now I'm actually quite happy it's back because like if it wasn't this, it was Hela, and like I really did not like Hela at all. As much as I did try to pick up the deck just because you adapt or you die, so I was adapting a bit, and then the OTA came and I could stop adapting. Thank God, I didn't have to play Hela. I mean, like to me, if there's two evils, Loki and Hela, I'll take the Loki evil for sure. But no,
Sure.
let's talk a bit about let's talk a bit about why Loki is also a bit back because well we did mention last time as well that like the Lockjaw Thanos and Loki matchup was very close now because of the Blob, because of a few other things, because of Scar, blah blah blah. But now Blob got like the nerf, and then Lockjaw now also is nerfed. Of course, that means Loki just gets a bit better, right? Like and also the good thing about Loki right now, I say good, but obviously subjective. But the good thing about Loki right now is the deck is a bit like flexible. There's like
Fair.
four flex slots, which is to me good deck building opportunities. It's still a Loki deck, but there's like 4 flex slots. So I'm kind of excited for that one. Loki mirror matches will still be the most a little bit toxic here and there. Like who gets the more Lokis, who gets more cheaper stuff, blah blah blah. Well, I guess Mobius is quite stable in this
Yeah.
aspect.
Like
Yeah, it's
it
quite
turns into
stable.
like Mobius Rogue once Loki
Mm-hmm.
becomes like a big thing. It's like very annoying, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do personally enjoy this more than what Hela metas were for the last few weeks. So, I think Loki is definitely back. Whether you guys like it or not, I'm like relatively sure we're gonna see a lot more of that on the top.
So, I mean, segueing off of that, I mean, if you want to beat Loki, what's the move? You just like start living tribunaling or something? Like, you just slap Mobius and everything, you play Sarah? Because, like, actually, Sarah did do a pretty good job beating Loki's
It
ass
did.
recently. Like, that is absolutely real. And what I'm wondering is, like, do you think we're going to enter a cycle where it's like, okay, everyone's playing Loki, you play Sarah to beat the Loki, you play Hela to beat the Sarah, and then we're back where we started?
Yeah, I think it's gonna go around. I think it's gonna
Yeah.
go a big round. Like I feel like just because Hela Lockjaw is gonna be a bit less seen right now. So Loki is a bit more seen, and then because of that, Sarah Tech's gonna be a bit more around again as well. It's like you said, it's really gonna go in a cycle. I don't know when the cycle or where the cycle will end. Maybe next month's like cards will make it change a little bit, but I do see like similarities popping up from like a few months ago.
Darkhawk now a 5/4 that gets the same ability that it already had. So it's like an alt Ronin, right? But it's like a Ronin that has the upside of, okay, you can actually enjoy playing the cards Korg, Rockslide, and Black Widow, and it's very hard to enjoy playing cards like Maximus and Master Mold early in the game when you're curving out. Darkhawk definitely taking a big hit here, but I do think that he's not going to be like, oh my god, he's the worst thing ever. He'll just be like a little bit marginally worse kind of thing. Yo,
Mhm.
Woody was doing some exciting stuff with him. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to try that out in the near future. Obviously, I didn't have a chance yet. And like, this is a real deck that is seemingly solid. And that means that there's like this, like, yeah, it got nerfed, but here's my big take on Darkhawk, which is it wasn't making the cut in Zabu decks anyway. Because
Right.
Zabu's competitive advantage is you don't have to play these terrible threes, right? And Darkhawk made you play those terrible threes. Like the competitive advantage, half the reason you play Zabu is to get 2 4 drops on the final turn of the game. The other half the reason you play Zabu is so you don't have to play a 3 drop and you can play like an Iron Lad on turn 3. And having to play Rock Slide, having to play Black Widow limited you as a Zabu deck. So being freed from the Zabu shell could actually be a good thing for Darkhawk because I don't think he was gonna be a serious contender at High Infinite in his current state.
Yeah, there's like two camps with this whole Darkhawk thing right now. Like the first one is like, oh, it's no longer a Zabu viable card, boohoo. Then the other one is like people playing it just as a big, good 5 cost card, right? So I'm in the camp whereby it's like, firstly, I agree that it never really made the cut in Zabu decks of like recent weeks anyway. But I do think it's like a slightly worse card because like it's expensive, right? It's a 5 cost commitment for like a I don't know, 10, 12 power card, which is like not fantastic right now. Either way, I mean, we have Dinos, we have Ronans. So, but of course, I do think that this card has a new home in the sense that obviously no more Zabu, but I'm thinking of playing this card in like sometimes you can consider like ramp because ramp sometimes
Yeah,
plays like what's that called? It plays Ronan, right? So this
yeah.
could be like another one of those things. I haven't thought of like the deck that this would be perfect in yet. But yeah, you mentioned Woody's like exploration into like some bound stuff with just the Darkhawk as just a big card. It's like
Mm-hmm.
how we used to run in like classic bounds, the Iron Man is just the big card. You know,
Yep.
like everyone has there's this like big card in like the small cards deck, like the bounce deck, and this might be one of the new the big cards. But yeah, I'm still not very optimistic, but we can explore further
Next up, Funeral for Forge, who has
for
been on
sure.
a journey, and that journey has ended exactly where it started. He's a 2/2 that gives +2. So, kind of a bad card now, huh? Which is crazy, because it's like, that's a 2/4, there's real upside there, but it's just like, a lot of decks that were running Forge are now totally uninterested in him at this point.
Yeah, it's so sad though because Forge used to be the perfect pairing and marriage with Nico, right? Like Forge Nico and a bounce deck was like a snap condition with or without Beast, because you like probably might draw it eventually. But yeah, Forge Nico was something super powerful in the bounce deck. Forge Deadpool, Forge multiple man pop with Phoenix Force and stuff like that. Like Forge being a one cost was so important for the decks that it was good in. So my pitch is quite simple. I do believe Forge is dead. Forge is bad now in the decks that he used to be good in. So that's my pitch, which is very sad, right? Because like I actually enjoy the card a lot. This does give way to like a new like one cost like staple. Like you can play other one cost cards in that slot right now. But what exactly that is? Firstly, it's not Chavez. I
Yeah.
tested it. It's so bad. Chavez is really not a Forge replacement. Even though it looks similar, it's really not. Like Chavez, you can't play it on turn 6. Also random buffs are exactly what they are, random. It's not consistent, it's not very good enough. So firstly, I just want to say that like Chavez does not replace Forge, sadly. But I guess now people playing Bounce still can experiment with other stuff. Like maybe we see Iceman back in.
Yeah.
Maybe we see like Korg, Darkhawk stuff. The ham, Spider Ham is still probably gonna be in there. So like I guess we lose a bit of power with the cheap Forge in Bounce, but we gain like flexibility in playing other stuff. We're like kind of priced in to play other stuff anyway. In Destroy, I guess you just totally omit it. Are we playing Nova again? I know KM, you talked about a bit about playing
I am
Destroy.
not playing
So
Nova.
okay, no Nova.
No,
Okay, okay.
it's just, it gets omitted for Hulkbuster, right? Like, it
Okay, okay,
you just
okay.
have Hulkbuster now, but it's actually kind of close, right? Because like, yeah,
Yeah.
Hulkbuster has like more ceiling potential. Forge has like higher floor, which is kind of embarrassing to have like a, like, you're actually maybe still interested in playing the card Forge in this deck, but it's like, it's okay. You could talk me into it. I'm playing Hulkbuster because when I play Destroy, my role, as I understand the Destroy deck, is to just put a bunch of points on the board and bully mid-range decks, right? And so for that reason, I play for the ceiling with the Hulkbuster instead of the Forge, right? Like, my job is to just do something that's like really, really big. And like, if you're playing like discard or whatever, I just big brother you. That's my understanding of the role of Destroy right now. And so Forge doesn't make the cut in that, but I can understand in a different context why you'd want to try it at least.
Yeah, and since we're talking about like the big brother of discard, the next topic will be
Discard! Great segue. We're
discard.
so good at segueing. All right, so Lambie had me put discard on here. I personally have no real read on it. Like, a lot of the discard decks are just like, okay, you're doing a bunch of points without any interaction, right? And if you're gonna do that, I'd rather play Destroy.
Mhm.
That's sort of where I'm at
Yeah.
with it pretty consistently. But what discard does really, really well is it beats up on like your Sarah controls, your like
Yes.
small mid-range decks by just doing what, Destroy does to it. And by being relatively invulnerable to tech between cards like Dracula, just like Proxima Midnight stats, like just generally just does enough stats and doesn't get teched on to a degree that it's like, okay, that's pretty good, right? Like, you still have like a Morbius or whatever that probably eats it to an Enchantress, and you just kind of have to expect that. But like, a lot of the rest of what you do, Proxima Midnight coming down for free, Dracula, bunch of swarms, like, it's a little bit harder for your typical mid-range deck, a Loki, for example, to interact with it. They need to beat you on power, and you can set up situations where you are actually doing that while putting a lot of power on the board. So discard, I actually have like some respect for, in terms of there is a position in the metagame where you could talk me into it. I don't know if we're in that position right now. I very specifically started playing Destroy because I was like, oh, well, if I'm playing against this, I'm just going to be bigger, right? But like, that is a viable role to have in the metagame. I just don't know if it's one that's going to last.
Yeah, I played quite a bit of discard recently because I felt like I underappreciated the archetype a little bit. Plus, Proxima just recently released, so I wanted to test a little bit of stuff. I did realize that like the amount of raw stats this deck has is kind of like really crazy. Like, let's just name a few things off the top, right? That can't really be counted whatsoever. The Dracula, uninteractable, solos a lane, 5/8 Modok, 0/3 swarms, which are very easy to get, and you can get a lot of them. What else? Sometimes Daken as well. It's gonna be a 3/8. It's
Yeah.
really difficult. There's so much like raw stats. Okay, let me put it out of the way first. Like destroy versus discard. Destroy is definitely higher in terms of like points ceiling and all that. That's why I call it the big brother. But like in terms of like uninteractability, that's a word, right? Yeah, uninteractability. I do think that discard really sometimes just does its own thing, and like the tags never really. You can't really tag versus discard. Like you said, Enchantress versus Morbius, that's it. Everything else is so immune to tag. It's kind of crazy. And I don't think it's top tier, but like when I play discard and when I play against discard, I find this like thing whereby I realize that like actually I'm only losing or winning by that just little bit. Like when I lose, it's
Yes.
like when I lose, it's like, oh, I've just missed a little bit. And then when I win, like I'm just like, whoa, that's so much raw stats. Like they can't do anything to these raw stats. Like, but of course, the problem with this card this whole time is like it's just a very like you can't really put tag cards in the deck.
Yeah.
There's no location control. It runs in a very like one direction like way. You can't really do anything. You just play Modok, drop everything, then you just drop all the swarms, and then the Apocalypse gets discarded by the Dracula. Like it's just the same thing, but sometimes it's enough. But of course not enough to be tier 1, but enough to be a decent contender in the game, I would say.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
What?
Brood Abs.
Yeah,
It's
a little
like
bit.
one of those where it's just like, here's some stats, right? Like, and it's
Yeah.
not like a bunch of stats, but it's like some reasonable stats, right? Like I played Sarah Control some today, and there was a guy on ladder who was playing Brood Abs, right? It was just like, oh, I die.
Wow.
I'm dead. I'm instantly dead. You play bigger cards than me, and I die because my tech cards don't do anything. And Destroy has that similar feeling where it's just like you have like, yeah, you can Mobius the swarms, right? But they're still getting a free Proxima. They're still Draculaing some stuff. Like they're still just doing numbers to a degree that is pretty difficult to interact with compared to like other decks in the metagame. And I think there is something to be said for that. Like that is an actual like legitimate role. And I weirdly, I think it wouldn't have this role if it weren't for Proxima Midnight. But it turns out like when you just get 7 free stats, that's just good. Like when you just get a free 7, you play a Modok that's 15 power, it's just like, oh, that's like actually quite difficult to beat. And I think
Yeah, it's
Proxima Midnight has made a real difference.
it's crazy, right? Like turn 1, you just go Blade, discard Proxima, that's 10. It's just mad. And like,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm gonna say this again because I say this on my stream so often. Like, Proxima, this card makes this card better, but this card doesn't make this card that good. Like, it just does make the deck better, but it doesn't actually make it top tier. But like
Yes.
the extra 7 power randomly appearing, like now when they play a Modok on turn 6, you sweat like more, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not just like buffing the Morbius. It's not just the Apocalypse being bigger. This 7 power thing will like appear somewhere, and then you might just lose because you didn't realize that like, oh wait, I need 7 more power here, but I don't have it.
Yes. Like it is a deck that is not top
It's
tier,
it's
but I
weirdly
think
scary.
yes, but
Yeah.
without Proxima Midnight, like it's sort of X23-ish, right? Like obviously
Yes.
X23 took Destroy to a level that Discard has not hit. But it was like if someone was like, all right, like in August, if someone came to your stream and was like, I want to play just Destroy without X23, you'd be like, what are you talking about? And I kind of wonder if Proxima's not a little bit similar. Like she is so important to like just the free stats plan that it's just like I'm just gonna. I don't think you can play the deck without her, and that's way better than I expected her to be. I'm not gonna lie.
100%.
Lambie asked me to put a topic for Vulture on here, so I named it Vulture. Are you serious? And that's the title of the topic, and the subject of the topic is going to be Lambie. Vulture, are you serious?
Okay, so I'm seriously thinking that like it's a bit underexplored because okay,
Yes.
when it comes to me and classic move, I'm no stranger to telling you guys that like I'm no master of this. I got out of pool 2 so quickly. I don't even know how to play cloak sometimes. I don't even know what Iron Fist does. Okay, obviously I know what Iron Fist does, but like I have never played the card like to that extent. So like
Pop quiz.
when I
No,
see
pop quiz. What direction does he
okay.
move?
Left, left. I had to think. I had to think. I had to think. Yeah, I paused. I was like, left, right?
No,
Yeah,
dude, I
left,
lost
left.
multiple games because I forgot the direction Heimdall moved. Like, I was playing the
Same. Oh
entire
my
game
god.
thinking Heimdall was going the other direction. Like, it's
Yeah,
so
so
real.
today I played one game whereby I Loki the Heimdall and I didn't realize that the Heimdall moves everything. I kept thinking Heimdall moves one card. So yeah, I almost lost. Okay, but that's not the okay. So the point is, firstly, we look at Vulture right now. It's now +6, so it's now a 3-9 and then a 3-15, 3-21. Technically, you move it 3 times, it's bigger than an Infinite. Like I think it's relevant, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's relevant in that deck, and I think only really in that deck. Some people have been telling me about bounce move. I might want to revisit that or something. But like I just put this Vulture here really because I feel like there might be some really very extremely unexplored potential with like classic move. I am not one to be able to find it, but I really hope there is something there. So it gives me a reason to go learn the deck proper because we won't be talking about like how many cards is Heimdall moving, which direction does Iron Fist jump if we were all playing against a meta move classic deck, you know?
So, I actually agree with you here. Like, my jokes about Vulture aside, I know Shuri Enjoyer has been playing a move bounce deck hybrid kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just classic move, actually, like a decent amount of the time. In top 20, it's been very, very good.
Wow.
I have been like it's been pretty impressive. I know KM Worst has been playing it as well. And the argument for it is basically it occupies the same spot, the same slice of the metagame as like a destroy, right? Like where you're just big brother and
Mm.
stuff. But it's way easier to throw prio with it. So you end up being a little bit safer from tech cards, tech decks like Sarah, where you are doing all this like very powerful, very big stuff. But if you throw prio, they can't really interact with it. I will say that does seem roughly accurate to me. It is an astonishingly difficult deck to play, though. Like it is just quite hard. There are so many ways to mess up with it. It is something that you're gonna need to get those reps in on.
Yeah, I want to add two things. First one is I realized that when I played against this deck recently, I've started to actually look at the deck a bit more seriously, which is like the plays that beat turn 6 Heimdall lose to everything else, and the plays that beat everything else lose to turn 6 Heimdall, because like the amount of stats that shifts is just crazy. Or if it doesn't shift, you just feel really stupid because like you just made a weird play that only beat like Heimdall on 6. Yeah, so one more thing is also if you guys really are like lovers of this move archetype and have played it a lot, please like send me like the deck list. I'm gonna like maybe look at it again. Just maybe.
Speaking of deck lists, you're gonna look at again. You said you think Thanos is not dead, despite the loss of
Mhm.
Lockjaw. Do you think you're first of all, are we still playing Lockjaw and Thanos?
Well, I don't think so. I can't see Lockjaw being good in like the current list. Okay, so firstly, when I say I don't think I'm playing Lockjaw and Thanos, it's basically the list that we've been playing this whole time,
Yeah.
right? The standard stuff, the 5 cost, the Scar, the Magneto, the Blob, yeah, the standard stuff. But maybe in the future we might have like a different list that could incorporate Lockjaw. But now I'm talking about Thanos in the sense of our favorite Professor X and Alioth again because
Oh boy, they've really made the new metagame incredibly enjoyable.
because firstly, Professor X sweeps up the remnants of the Hela people, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
because like it's really kind of like you get prior, you prof, that's it. No Hela nonsense. And like I feel like it's just a natural like rising up again of the Professor X Alioth deck because when the Lockjaw becomes worse, the other like viable Thanos option in the last 1 year is the lockdown option, the one that lets you like lock a lane and then solo with a Alioth, Blob, or Dino. So I think that will come back simply because the lockjaw option is not popular or not so great right now. Yeah, so that's my take on Thanos. I I actually have thought of like, is there a way we can play like big boy Thanos, which is like you just play cards on curve, you play Cow Obsidian, then you can just play a Scar, then you play something big on turn 6. Nothing to do with Lockjaw, by the way. I just think like, is that possible to play Tempo Thanos? Like actual just like stats Thanos
Yeah,
without Lockjaw.
I was gonna bring up the Korean build with like Craven Silk. Is
Oh
that
wow,
a
yeah,
thing
that's
we can
true.
revisit, right? Like you have like Craven
Mm,
Silk, but like think about this, because that was also a storm deck, right? You have a
mm.
stone, you storm the stone lane, you Cub City in that, you instantly win that with a 4/10 in there. Like it's not something that has passed my notice that there are other ways to build this card. However, I am unsure exactly how to approach it because those ones have never been good, right? Like it's either been
Correct.
lockdown or lockjaw. And so in terms of like something else here, I think that might be a space worth investigating. Like
Yeah.
what OKJK and Desmond used to do.
Yeah, man, I really want to play a third style of Thanos, right? Like now, I don't even
Yes.
feel like there's like no reason to not play Lockjaw in the past, and then there's like no reason to not play Professor X or of Thanos in the past. Like I really want like a new way to play Thanos that works. So I'm
This
gonna
is
try. Yeah.
my whole argument for nerfing Lockjaw. That's the whole
Yes.
argument. Is like Thanos is so cool. Why is it always Lockjaw?
Yeah. It's because the best stuff is all Lockjaw or like lockdown based, right?
Yeah. And it's like I'm with you. We're searching for the third path.
I really want to. I really want to.
Lambie, I commentated the American side of the Johnson Cup. I believe you're commentating the finals. I don't know why I said the American side, the non-Korean side. It's actually
Yeah.
all over the world.
Western side,
the American side. Dude, this is absolutely classic American there. Okay, so here's the way it works. There's America and there's the rest of the world. And no, I commentated the bottom bracket, rest of the world, which was won by Team Desert Fox. And they are a group of, I believe, 3 immensely talented Italian players who played incredibly well. And then, of course, in the top bracket, I believe it is Team Sizer. And they are a group of Europeans as well. So the EU server absolutely showing out in the Johnson Cup. You are going to be commentating the finals. Does that consist of the bracket finals? Or is that just the finals, like Korea versus the rest of the world?
Yeah, we're gonna be I'm gonna be commentating with It's Guest Gaming, the Korea versus the international bracket finals. Like so, the final of the final of the final. Yeah. Speaking of that Italian team, I think Gio is on that team as
Correct.
well, right?
And he is
Yeah,
exactly.
he's
very
insane.
good.
Yeah, he's insane. Yeah. Like I believe that like competitive Marvel Snap, obviously we all know that it's not like a really official team thing, but like the third parties that have been organizing stuff have been doing a really good job. This Johnson Cup from the little that I've been involved in, well, because we lost round 1, haha. From
What
the
do you
little that
mean?
I've been
That can't happen.
involved in this event, I actually think that the level is really relatively high. I'm very excited to cast this, and yeah, it would be a good I guess final for sure. I really want to see what with these people they bring. I've heard you told me that they just previously just brought like Loki and Thanos
The Italians
for
were
like the
best deck
entire.
players for sure. I
Yeah,
watched them play, and to be fair, that was just one of them winning a bunch with Loki and Thanos. Like one of them went on a 5-person run, like just incredibly talented. A guy named Komis. I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm just guessing.
Komis. Yeah, he's a ladder god. I think he's like top ladder very often.
Yeah, all of them are. Every single player on that team. It's Gio, Gugly, and Komis. Like they're all ridiculous ladder players. And they so basically like you went on like a 5 run, and it was basically just like Loki, Thanos with 1 destroy thrown in there. It was just like basically the rest of the time was just Loki, Thanos, and like when he finally got eliminated, the guys after him were playing Loki, Thanos. So they're very much best deck players. For that reason, I'm interested to see what they bring. For the record, they were doing very cool stuff in Loki. They played Morph in there very specifically because it's like everyone else is going to play Thanos and Hela. We're just going to morph into something very big. And I'm interested to see what they do in an open metagame because I think we both know that in a like very figured out metagame, just bringing the best deck, being a good player, that's a strategy. I'm interested to see what they do in an open one for sure.
Yeah, that's actually like why I'm very excited because like my personal philosophy is also just be good and bring good. So that's what I'm very excited to see as well. But yeah, Johnson Cup will be this weekend on a Sunday. The exact time I think I'll tweet about it. But yeah, do catch me and It's Guest Gaming casting the final of the final of the final.
I think it's 4 a.m. my time, which means it's 4 p.m. your time.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for making it through that video. As always, I've been KMBest. He's been Lambie Series. I've been Washed. Lambie, take us out.
Thank you so much for having me back once again. It's so great to be back. If you like what you just saw, do leave a comment, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one on KMBest channel. Bye-bye.